Alright guys, before we get started, in honor of that 200k giveaway, my brother did set out the rules on his last video. In case y'all haven't watched it, I will link it right here. But basically the rules are you gotta be following all 3 Instagram accounts, mine, his, and the Faded Culture one, and you must be subscribed to the channel, of course. And the way we're gonna choose the winner is just comment your Instagram handle down below, and we're gonna randomly just scroll through the comments and pick 10 winners. Some are gonna win merch, some are gonna win a cash prize, and there's gonna be one winner that's gonna win a full set of clippers. Comment as many times as y'all want for a better chance to win. Comment on this video and my brother's video. So now let's jump into this tutorial. What's going on, Faded Culture? I'm Adrian and Barron, and we're back with another tutorial. Today we're gonna be running down the steps on how to do a low fade with the scissor trim on top. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and let's jump right into it. Thank y'all for tuning in to another tutorial, guys. Again, the details to the giveaway are in the description. We will be announcing the winner this Sunday, the 5th of September, 1 p.m. Central Time, guys. Stay tuned. As you can see right here, I'm just consulting with the client. First of all, this is the first time he is in my chair, so it's always highly recommended that you do consult with him. And I like to go based off pictures, that way we're always on the same page. You're going to want to start off the tutorial by slightly dampen the hair so we can start the scissor trim on top. And I like to use the fine side of the comb as it does pick up more hair. Here I'm just grabbing my first section in the front, and then grabbing a section to the side while still grabbing the previous cut section. This is going to be used as my guideline. And just move along to the sides, guys. And then grabbing smaller sections, now working my way back. Again, always make sure that you are grabbing a section of the previous cut hair. And the smaller the sections that you work with as you work your way back, the better it will be, as it will be less work when you come back and cross-check your work. So just take your time and stay patient. And I think I did forget to mention that we will be going live here on YouTube to mention the winners of the giveaway, guys. So stay tuned. Again, thank y'all so much. Now that I'm done with the first pass on the top, I'm going to start trying connecting the top to the sides. So here I'm going to grab vertical sections, guys, and start clipping away at that. You could see that my fingers are more in the upright direction. Again, this is just going to help start blending in the top to the side. So take small sections and work your way all around. Now I am going to cross-check my work, so now I'm going to come in vertical sections, and again just cross-checking, making sure that the top is as consistent as possible. As you can see, there is some inconsistency here, so this is just going to straighten out and make sure everything's good to go. Now to begin my first guideline, we're going to start with the clipper, lever close, and no guard. And at that temple peak area, this is where I define where my fades start. I usually start my mid fades right at that temple peak area, and then I start my high fades right above it. In this case, we are going to do a slightly lower fade, so we're going to start right under that temple peak area. Be easy with all your guidelines, guys, as it will make your life a lot easier when we come back down and start to remove them. As you could see, I am slightly dropping it as we approach the back of the ear, as I do like to do most of my fades in this manner, as I feel that it does complement a lot of people's head. It does complement that occipital bone. And yes, my clippers are zero gap. I will leave a link down in the description to one of our videos on how we do zero gap our clippers, as I highly do recommend it. Now make sure that your guideline on the other side ends up at that same temple peak area. You can always view him from the front to make sure that they align.
Now for the second guideline, we're going to open the lever completely, still using no guard. And we're going to take that up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch or so. Make sure that you are running parallel to the one underneath to make sure that your fade is consistent throughout. Again, stay easy. I am slightly flicking up as we approach the top of this guideline. Here I'm just going back and tightening up these guidelines, as it is important that they are as clean as possible. Now for my third guideline, we're going to use a number 1 guard, and the lever is still going to stay open. You will see that as I'm setting up my initial guidelines, the lever stays open. I do not close that lever until we start working our way back down. Again, just taking it up about 1/2 inch to 1 inch or so, and just staying consistent parallel to the one underneath it. Now for my third guideline, I'm going to use the number 2 guard. Again, lever is still staying completely open. And when it comes to the number 2 and higher, I do exaggerate that flick out motion, as I do not want to start blending into the top and creating a faux hawk look. And you'll see if you're nice and smooth with this initial number 2 guard, right now when I put the number 3 guard, it's going to blend right in and it's not going to create a guideline between it. So now I got my number 3 guard. Lever is still fully open, as I've mentioned. It's going to stay open as I'm setting up. And you can see here the motion of my wrist. It's going straight up and out. Now for the last guard, it will be a number 4 guard. And this guard is just going to blend right up into that top length, as when we did the vertical sections with the shears, this is what it helped blend into the number 4. Here I'm just freehanding all the frizz, as sometimes when I do exaggerate those flick out motions, it does create a lot of inconsistency that you can see from the top. I am using my pinky as basically a safety net against the head. That way you don't dig too much in. But yeah, I'm just freehanding all the frizz. It's going to give the head a better shape. Now I have my first guideline that we created with the 0, second that we created with the half, and the third that we created with the number 1 guard, all the way open. We're going to start with that one and work our way down. Starting with a 1.5 guard, I'm going to close the lever just slightly, putting it into a 3/4 position. It's basically somewhere in between halfway and fully open. Using mainly the corners of the clipper, I'm going to attack that top guideline. And again, this 3/4 position, it is just a rule of thumb. If you feel that you need to open it a little bit more or close it a little bit more, then feel free to do so, guys. Now for that second guideline coming down, we're going to use our half guard, and the lever is still going to stay in that 3/4 position though. Again, using mainly the corners of the clipper, we're going to start attacking that line. And this step does create a faint line right above it, but do not take this guard any higher, as we will come back right now with the 1 guard and start removing that line. As you can see, his hair is really coarse as we get to the back. That just means we're going to have to come back and do most of our touch-up work in this back side of the head. So like I mentioned, now with our number 1 guard, the lever is still going to stay in that 3/4 position. We're going to attack that faint line that the half guard created. As you can see, there is times where I'm only going to be using the last 2 or 3 teeth of the clipper. And I do highly recommend that you keep a small brush on your opposite hand, that way you can clean the canvas after every couple strokes. Now we're left with the last guideline that we created with the 0. We're going to remove that one by starting with the 0. And then we're going to open it halfway and then open it completely. We're going to take that 3-step process and just focus on this left side of the head. I've come to notice that by removing the 0 with the 0, it compresses the fade real nicely, and it makes the process a lot easier. So now I'm going to open it halfway. But I think it is critical that that you at least try to use most of the corners of the clipper. That way you don't take the fade any higher. And finally, I'm opening up the lever completely. You can see here the action of using only the corners. We're pretty much done. You're going to want to repeat that same 3-step process, now focusing just on the back side. So remember that 3-step process, and we break the head down into 3 sides. I found that this last line is the most tedious, so I like to give it the most attention. That's why I break down the last step into certain sides, just focusing on one at a time. And finally, to focus on his right side. Now that we're done with that 3-step process, now to begin the touch-up work. I usually do most of my touch-up work with the half guard, and it comes down to just lever play. As you can see, he does have a few dark spots right here above the ear, so I'm going to start there with the lever open and just close it as I need to. Now, a lot of this touch-up work is going to vary from client to client and even from one side of the head to the other. So just be patient, and with time you will develop an eye to get down the touch-up work. As you can see here, I'm using the trimmer in a forward position just to get a lot closer to the scalp. And you'll see right now why it's important to get as closest to the scalp as possible. Then I turn it around and flick that line out. So now that I begin to remove the bottom hair, I have a faint line because I did use the trimmer in the forward direction, and now I know exactly how high up to take my electric shaver. So just repeat that process all around the head by beginning in that forward position and then just flick out the faint line that creates. And a tip that I do have when it comes to using the electric shaver, as you approach that faint line, I want you to turn it around and use mainly the corners of the shaver as if it was a clipper. That way you just don't take the fade up any higher. As for the edge up, I always start in the center and work my way to one side. And then I come back to the center and work my way to the other side. This basically just helps me recalibrate and make sure that I am going straight from side to side. Here I'm just trimming up his facial hair. I always recommend that you ask the client what they want to do with their facial hair, eyebrows, and then trim off any excess ear or nose hair that they have, guys. And a tip that I do have before applying the shave gel is just spray a little bit of water. I find that this does help keep the skin moist a little bit longer. Starting in the center, shaving with the grain, and then I come back shaving against the grain. As you can see, his hair from the forehead, it kind of grows in the direction of the fade, so you always want to make sure you're shaving against it. Using your opposite hand to stretch the skin to ensure a smoother shave. And yeah, I do prefer that my blades are exposed slightly. And blow drying him, making sure all the hair's off. Here I'm even blow drying the hair off the shoes, guys. I like to think that my client can get off the chair and go about his day and not having to go home and shower and change and do all that. So I try to take all the hair off as much as possible. Here I'm just applying a little bit of matte pomade along with some enhancements. The link is in the description down below to all these tools, guys. And yes, I do dilute my enhancement with water. Here's the before in case y'all forgot. And here's the after, guys. A bald fade with the scissor trim on top. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial, guys. I hope y'all learned something new, especially since this client had really coarse hair. I hope y'all find something that can help y'all get through these kind of haircuts. As always, guys, let us know down in the comments what y'all would like for us to do next. Till next time, guys, peace.